Coming to you from RKMD Studio, it's SoyaCincau presents Live and Raw, a show where we answer your questions. Tonight, we talk about COVID-19 vaccines with your host, Amin Ashari and Alexander Wong.
Okay, happy Friday, everybody! Wow, I didn't know we just turned into like a talk show. It's been like a crazy week. I hope everybody is holding on strong and everybody is feeling safe and feeling healthy. I just want to give a shout out to everybody on Clubhouse for tuning into the show. Shout out to Jonathan. Shout out to all of the SoyaCincau team in Clubhouse. Big shout out to Cash. I have Sophie in the house. I have Zeph in the house. I have Zuraida in the house. I have Siu. I have Nakib. And I have Vignesh in the house. Thank you everybody for joining the show on Clubhouse.
Hi, Sarah.
Oh, and hi, Sarah. And a special hello to Zeph. Thanks for joining. Okay, and for those of you who are on Facebook, thanks for joining us on Facebook Live. Just a little reminder for those of you who are on Clubhouse, this show is being recorded and broadcasted on Facebook Live. And if you have any questions, if you want to ask questions, just raise your hands and Rory will bring you up. So how does the show work? We have 30 minutes to answer all and any of your questions about technology and gadgets and everything else, right? So for today, we have a theme. The theme is going to be about COVID vaccines. So there's been a lot of developments about COVID vaccines in Malaysia in terms of the vaccine types that are available in the country, the vaccine types that have conditional approval. We also have new ways to register to get the vaccine. One of the biggest news that happened this week is about the registration of COVID vaccines on MySejahtera. A lot of people were confused. Do you have to ask? Do we have to ask? Do we have to register twice to get your registration validated? So if you have any questions with regards to COVID vaccines, the registration of COVID vaccines, about gadgets or technology, feel free to ask them in the comment section on Facebook. If you're on Clubhouse and listening to the show, all you need to do is just raise your hands and we'll be able to answer those questions for you as best as we can. All right, let's now move on to the first question. So, Rory, do you have a question for us?
Yep. Yes, we do. We have a raised hand on Clubhouse. Shall we take that first?
Yeah, let's do that. Let's do that.
All right.
Hello.
Hi, Cash. Hi.
Hello.
Hi, Cash.
Yes, go ahead.
Oh, can you guys hear me?
Yep, loud and clear.
Alright. I have a question. Regarding COVID-19 vaccine. Okay, the question is, hello.
Yes.
Yeah, go on.
Okay. The question is, why the vaccine is, how to say can I speak in Malay?
Boleh, tak ada masalah.
Kenapa COVID-19 punya vaksin dia keluar cepat sangat? So dia tak macam dengue kan sampai sekarang dia tak ada vaksin. Dia punya vaksin, HIV, kanser. Kenapa COVID-19 baru datang 2 tahun lepas tapi sekarang dia dah ada vaksin dia. So to me something fishy lah around that lah. Kenapa dia yang lain dah lama keluar sampai sekarang tak ada vaksin lagi. So can someone convince me, should I take it, the vaccine or not? Okay, that's it for me. Thank you.
Okay, Cash, thank you very much for that question, and I like that question because soalan tu sangat mencabar minda, dan I'm sure a lot of Malaysians are asking that question as well. So, number one, how is it possible that the vaccine can be found in less than 2 years? Alex, you want to take that question?
Just to make it clear, we are not professional doctors. We are not basically from the medical industry. But what I can say is that because of this severity, right, there's a massive effort to to develop these vaccines, and also I think this is probably one of the first time that they embark like a mass medical trials to ensure that the vaccines are safe. Yeah, and also in terms of safety, I think a lot of medical regulatory bodies have conducted their own checks and also to ensure that these are safe. So before a vaccine can go out, they had to go through 3 phases of trials. So most of them, they have gone through the trials, and before it comes to Malaysia, before it can be used in Malaysia, it needs to be passed by the National Pharmaceutical Regulatory Agency. So they had to do the checks and make sure that the data that's submitted is legit, and to make sure that it's safe and also effective in Malaysia. So far right now, the only vaccine that's authorized for use is the Pfizer vaccines. The others are still in submission, but the latest development is that there are 3 more that's been given conditional approval, which includes Sinovac and also another Pfizer from another factory, because the initial one was also approved, but from a different facility. And of course, there's another one that's approved, which is conditionally approved, which is AstraZeneca. So the thing is, because of this severity, everyone has done in a large scale, and this is unprecedented.
Okay, I think I wanna answer it from a different perspective. Yes, unprecedented is the word to use here. So Cash, number one, kenapa vaksin ni cepat sangat orang the scientists and all that found the vaccine, right? First of all, there has not been a global effort to find a vaccine ever. There's not been an effort so big to find this one vaccine for this one virus, for this one problem. Why? Okay, you mentioned dengue, cancer, and a few other HIV you mentioned just now, kan? While those illnesses can be deadly to some people, there are medicine for those things. There are treatments for those things. At this moment in time, there is no proper treatment or medicine for COVID-19. You can only treat the symptoms. So kalau you ada COVID and you demam, kita boleh bagi ubat untuk demam tu. Kalau you ada COVID and you ada cerit berit, kita boleh bagi ubat untuk cerit berit tu. Kalau you ada COVID and you tak lalu makan, kita boleh bagi you benda-benda untuk make sure you ada you punya nutrition dalam badan you. Tapi kita tak ada ubat untuk COVID tu sendiri. And the reason why we are focusing on COVID is because it's affected the whole world. People, yes, obviously people have died. Millions of people have died. And it has affected the economy and businesses. People lose their jobs. So there has not been such an urgent requirement for a vaccine ever in the history of the world. And that's the reason why people are jumping on that. Now the other thing is whether we can convince you to take the vaccine or not. Okay, here's the thing that a lot of people don't know. Taking the vaccine is not wajib. It's not a requirement. The government cannot force you to take the vaccine, not by law or not by anything. And that's why you are required to register for the vaccination, to give your consent that saya membenarkan diri saya untuk divaksinkan. Right? Now, it is up to you. Are you willing to take the risk? Do you know that you can survive if you if you contract the virus? Is it more dangerous to not be vaccinated and risk getting the virus? It's completely up to you. But at the same time, it is also our responsibility as Malaysians and Malaysian citizens to ensure that everybody is safe. And how do we ensure everybody is safe? By making sure that we are vaccinated, so that we don't infect others. Yeah, so I hope we've answered your question. And again, thank you, Cash, for that super good question. I think I'm really happy to answer that. I hope we've been able to answer that question. All right, let's now take another question.
All right, we have a question from Facebook. So Ramanesh asks,
Yeah.
What headphones are you using?
Okay, this is a technical question. We are using probably one of the best monitoring headphones you can get right now. It is the Shure SRH440. The reason why we're using this is because we're trying to up our broadcast and our video production quality. And the reason why we choose these ones are because they have really good sound production and their drivers are good. The bass is good, the comfort is good, and they are wired so that you don't have any problems with regards to sound delays and everything. And they come with this coil cord.
Coil cord, yeah.
It's quite premium. So the ones that we use is the Shure SRH440. Maybe you want to add some other pointers, Rory, because Rory recommended that we use this. He did the research.
Oh yeah. Basically, it's not. I don't know if it's like the best ever, but it's like the best for the price.
One of the best.
Yeah,
Yes.
one of the best for the price. So the other option would be the one that I'm using, which is the Audio Technica AT-M40Xs. They are very good also. But if you want like a really budget option, you don't want big headphones, right? You can get this one, which is like the one that Zach's using. These are QKZ monitoring headphones. They're like 30 ringgit, but the sound is like chef's kiss.
Okay, I just want to remind everybody who just joined us on this SoyaCincau Live and Raw, the mechanics of the show. We have 30 minutes and we're here to answer any and all of your questions that you have about technology and gadgets. And in today's episode, the theme is COVID vaccines. Why? Because there's been a lot of developments with regards to COVID vaccines throughout this week. New methods of registration. Do you need to register more than once to confirm your registration? How many vaccines have been approved? How many people have been vaccinated? How many more people need to be vaccinated until we get herd immunity? So if you have any questions with regards to the COVID-19 vaccines, whether you're on Clubhouse or on Facebook, please feel free to answer them and we'll try our best to feel free to answer them. Feel free to ask them and we will try our best to answer them.
Yeah, just raise your hands.
Yeah, for those who are on Clubhouse, if you have a question, just raise your hands and we'll be more than happy to answer them. Okay, Rory, let's take the next question.
Okay, we have a question from Facebook. The people on Clubhouse, don't forget to raise your hand so that I can see and bring you up here to ask questions. But since we don't have a question from Clubhouse just yet, we'll do another one on Facebook.
I love the sound effect.
So premium, right?
Yeah.
So Vignesh Warren says, sorry if I butcher your name. Hey, a question for Rory. Aww. Are you guys using iRig 2 and a mixer to stream? We are actually not using the iRig 2 and a mixer to stream. What we are using is the Blackmagic ATEM Mini Pro ISO with a Rodecaster Pro as well into a laptop via OBS to go out to Facebook. There was a lot of trial and error. It was many nights of headaches, but I think overall, not bad lah. Quite impressive, I have to say. So it's a bit of an overkill setup lah for solo live people, you know. So yeah, that's what we're using.
Yeah, the reason why we chose the ATEM Blackmagic ATEM Pro ISO is because it can output, it can take 4 HDI streams and output 1 stream, and it can also record at the same time. So it's a recorder and also a streamer. And it's one of the most powerful streamers you can get out there for the money. It costs about 4,000 ringgit for this one. There is also a cheaper version, ATEM Pro and just the ATEM. So the difference are just lesser inputs and maybe like lesser buttons and functions. So thanks very much for that question, Vignesh Warren Ganesan. Is there a question from Clubhouse? I just want to shout out to everybody on Clubhouse. Again, Cash, Sophie, Zuraida, Siu. There's Vignesh also. There's Zalinda, Jasmine, Patrick. And a new joiner, Frankie. Thanks very much for joining us on SoyaCincau Live and Raw on Clubhouse. On today's show, we're answering questions about the COVID-19 vaccine, about the COVID-19 vaccine registration, on top of questions that you may have about gadgets and technology. So if you have any questions that you want to ask, please, on Clubhouse, just raise your hands and we'll bring you up so that we can hear your voice. So please do raise your hands if you have any questions.
We do have a question.
Oh,
We
yay!
have 2 people on Clubhouse.
All right, let's take them both.
Should we take one at a time?
One at a time, yes.
But I can bring them on stage first. Both of them on stage first.
Okay.
Yeah. And then
Sorry, I still very noob at Clubhouse. Okay, so the first person, I have invited you. Please accept. Yay! All right. Hi, Sue. You are on the stage. Please ask your question.
As this vaccination is entirely voluntary, don't you think we should be given a choice as to which vaccine we want to have?
Okay. Is that the only question, Sue?
Yes.
All right. Thank you very much. We will take that question first before we go on to the second Clubhouse question. Okay, Rory?
Yes. Zalinda, can you please mute your mic? Okay, so the question is, since the vaccination is voluntary, shouldn't we have the option to choose which vaccine we can take? So, Alex, what do you think about this?
Yeah, so the minister that's in charge of the coordination efforts for the vaccination has explained this as well. So one of the main reasons why we couldn't choose the type of vaccines we get is because it will be a logistical nightmare. Because imagine, because we have procured 5 different vaccines at the moment. So we have like Pfizer, Sinovac, AstraZeneca. So far, Pfizer's been administered. So a lot of vaccines, they have different requirements. Like for example, Pfizer, it requires like an ultra cold temperature storage. And each vial, from what we know, each vial can vaccinate 6 people. And once you take that out, you need to vaccinate 6 people one go. So if we get people to choose which type, it's going to be a nightmare to arrange because, for example, imagine one area, right? If each of them choose different vaccines, so the transportation is going to be a nightmare. So that's what Kari has said. And in fact, a lot of actually all countries that has a portfolio of vaccines, which means they have more than one, they also don't get to choose because it's going to be very messy. So what they do is they distribute based on locations because from what we heard from Khairi Jamaluddin saying that recently there's a development of a single dose vaccine, which makes it super convenient and it's going to be a game changer. And that would likely be administered in places in remote areas because it's hard for people to come out to do the second jab. So that's one of the strategies that's going to be in place if these single dose vaccines are going to be rolled out. So yeah, I hope I answered that question.
Okay, I just want to add to that. The logistical nightmare, I just want to expand on that. The thing is, the COVID-19 vaccine is one of the most, or if not the most hotly demanded item in the world right now. Every single country in the world is asking for a vaccine, and there's only so much that one company can make. Now, if we do allow, or if there is a protocol that allows the public to choose which vaccine they can take, one company might not be able to produce enough because everybody will then gravitate towards one that they feel is the best, and that might lead to a high demand of just one vaccine. I think we all know that everybody wants to be rid of this pandemic, and they want to be rid of it as soon as possible. So I guess if we all understand as a community, okay, let's do what is required, and let's just be patient and take whatever is available. We'll be over with this before we know it. It's been already 2 years, and I can't wait to return back to normal. So I hope we've answered your question, and thank you so much, Sue, for that. All right, let's take the next question on a Clubhouse as well, right?
We actually have a question on Facebook too. Do you want to take that first?
I want to go. I want to go to Clubhouse.
There's one person waiting on stage.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hi, Zalinda.
Hello. Oh, hang on. Can I unmute? Oh. Zalinda, can you unmute your microphone? Sorry, I don't know how to do that on my end. You can unmute your...
Hello. Okay,
hello.
Sorry.
No worries.
Hi.
Apparently my jari ni kering sangat, so the phone was not working very well. All right. So my question is a little related to the question by Sue just now. Like, we can't choose our vaccines, right? But unfortunately, there are some people, like me, for instance, I'm allergic to certain drugs. And I was told that Pfizer's vaccine are not good for people with NSAIDs. So, so how will the government tackle this? Like, I've already registered, but there's no question within the My Sejahtera app that asks whether I'm allergic to any of, whether I'm allergic to any drugs. So my suggestion would be, if anybody would be able to speak to the app developer or also to YBKJ to say, hey, look, we need to adjust this questionnaires to at least include people who are allergic to these drugs, so that you will actually administer, or you will actually do appointments for these people according to the right drugs. Otherwise, like you said just now, if I go and my turn is supposed to take Pfizer, then I will just waste someone's space in terms of getting their vaccination. So that's my concern when it comes to allergy, because I know I can't take anything that are related that because I'm allergic to all the NSAIDs drugs. That's my question. Thank you.
Okay, Zalinda, that is another really great question. When we were planning to do this show, I wasn't expecting to get like this really, really awesome questions about COVID-19 vaccines. I just want to give a disclaimer. Alex and I are not medical professions, but we've done a tremendous amount of research on the topic. And just to add to your point, I can assure you that the people who are on the case with regards to the COVID-19 vaccination, even YBKJ himself, KJ himself, is paying attention to the show and is paying attention to what we write. So I'm confident, and I believe that he is listening as well. Well, at least to the recording of the show. We know that. Okay. So now your question is, what about people who have allergies? Alex, you want to take this, and then I add on to what you have to say?
Yep, that's a very good question, because like what you mentioned, right? When it comes to registration, they don't really capture much details. The four basic questions they ask is, number one is, are you interested in getting the vaccine? Second, do you have any like a history of illness? That's very broad. And also third is, if you are registered person with disability. You're absolutely right that allergies will affect the type of vaccines you're going to take, because what YBKJ has said, that they also monitor the different side effects from different vaccines, and perhaps, like for example, this particular vaccine is not good for the elderly, so they will discount that. So the same thing would go for people with certain conditions like allergies. So what she says is a real concern, and I appreciate that question. And from what we know from the roadmap is, before you get vaccinated, there's a consultation session which they will check your condition. If there any possible complications, then they'll proceed to the vaccination. So that aspect is only taking place right before the vaccination. And you rightly pointed out, like for example, if this place only has this type of vaccine, what choice do you have? And there could be a wastage. I can't answer your question.
There's not been a protocol set for that at the moment. Yeah, but I think that's a very good question. If I can just come in and put in some of my points. So the process with regards to the COVID-19 to receiving the COVID-19 vaccine is, number one, you must register. The reason for registration is to give consent. Number two, from your registration, the government will then from the registration. The government will then see what stage are you in, whether you're frontliner or the second phase, which is people who are over 70 or over 60, or people who have
chronic diseases,
non-communicable diseases, and then after that it's everybody else. So once you fall into that, once you have been categorized into those phases, you will then get a notification. And then that notification will then tell you when your vaccine registration will be, and where you can take that vaccine where you can take the vaccine. So if I'm not mistaken, there's about 400 vaccination centers, right, Alex?
They say that 600.
600 vaccination centers throughout the country. So when you make your way to the vaccination center to take your vaccine on your appointment day, a doctor will first run a consultation with you to check whether you have any underlying conditions, any illnesses, or any allergies. And then it will decide, then the doctor will decide whether to give you the vaccine or not. Now, so all of those that I've mentioned have been outlined in the National Immunization Program. What has not been outlined, and that is from your amazing questions, Zalinda, is, what if I have allergies? Do I get to choose? Or will the doctor then choose the right one for me? So I believe maybe we can ask that question to YBKJ and hopefully he can answer that. I think that's a good question. We can bring it up as a post. I'm so thankful for that question, Zilla. Thank you very much. All right, let's take another question. But first, I just want to acknowledge for everybody that's joined us on Clubhouse. Hello, Jessica, Mardina, Hannah, Rafi, Sophia, and Harinda. Thank you very much for joining us on Clubhouse. If you have any questions about technology, gadgets, and specifically about the COVID-19 registration or the COVID-19 vaccination, please raise your hands and we'll be more than happy to answer your questions. All right, let's take the next question, Rory.
Okay, so we don't have questions on Clubhouse just yet.
Okay.
So we can take one question from Facebook. So this is a back to basics question. Ikra asks, can you tell me, is Redmi 10 Pro good? And then there's a thinking emoji.
Okay, so question from Ikra Kalikin. Thank you very much for the question on Facebook. Redmi 10 Pro, I don't know. Rory and Alex, you want to chime in?
Yeah, so Redmi Note 10 Pro. So that's the phone that's been announced yesterday. So this is Xiaomi's new mid-range smartphone. And as usual, if you've been following Xiaomi, they make good value for money smartphones for less than 1,000 ringgit. And this phone, I would say, is probably the next new king because you can get a smartphone with like an AMOLED screen with 120 Hertz, a refresh rate, and also a powerful Snapdragon 732G processor, a huge 5,000 plus battery, and now he has a 108 megapixel camera, and you can get it for 999 ringgit. That's a good bargain. So if you're looking for a phone that's less than 1,000 ringgit, it's quite hard to find a better phone for that price.
Rory, you want to chime in?
Yeah, I mean, I have to agree. So the previous king of this segment was the Poco X3 NFC. And looking at the price and the specs, it's like super comparable, but you get like an upgraded camera. So it's like, yeah, this is probably going to be the next king of the segment.
And it looks good too.
Yeah. It does look good, actually.
Okay. Just more people just joined on Clubhouse. Again, thank you very much for joining. Thank you very much for listening in, and thank you very much for tuning in. For those who are on Facebook, we are answering questions that you may have about technology, gadgets, and today specifically COVID-19 registration and vaccination. So I would like to invite people who are on Clubhouse. If you have any questions, please raise your hands and we'll be more than happy to answer them for you. We have two really amazing questions. Actually, three, from Cash, from Sue, and from Zalinda from Clubhouse that were like super, super good with regards to the COVID-19 vaccination. So anybody that's any raised hands on Clubhouse, Rory?
Not yet. No, I think people are still a bit shy. Maybe we have quite a few new people, especially. Come on, raise your hands if you have any questions of technology, vaccination program. In Malaysia, please raise your hands.
All right, I just want to give a big shout out to Jessica, Rafi, Jaspe, Dr. Saira, Shazrael, and Rudy for joining us. I can see also Adit and Sarah still there. Thank you very much for joining us on Clubhouse. Let's take the next question.
All right. Since there's no questions on Clubhouse just yet, let's take another question from Facebook. This is a long question.
Wow. Okay.
So it comes from Ramanish Keith Nair. He asks, wouldn't it be easier if the public can choose their own slot for vaccination? So that way all the family members can get it done together and it'll be much more organized to have an online slot reserving exercises. Slots will, of course, be on a first-come, first-served basis after the initial frontliners are done with their vaccine administration, of course.
Okay. I will pass this to Alex in a bit, but I just wanna talk about I want to answer. Give my 2 cents about this. Yes. It would be nicer. I don't think it's easier, but it would be nicer to get everybody from the whole family to be vaccinated at the same time. But then if you start scaling this up to the scale and the number of people that is required to be vaccinated, 80% of the Malaysian population, including foreigners who are in Malaysia. So you're looking at upwards of 20 million people. The magic word here is that it's a logistical nightmare to get people to choose. So to get and we're looking at logistical nightmare number one when they're choosing because I want to change slots, I want to do this, I want to do that. The vaccinations, where do we send these people to? Which vaccination center do we send them to? And the number two element is we want to get people vaccinated as fast as possible. The target now at the end of the year is what?
By end of this year, if
Yeah.
everything goes according to
How
plan.
how many million people?
The national target is 80% population, so that's about 20 plus.
So KG
million.
KG is confident that we are able, because at first the target was by 2022 we'll be able to get the 80% mark by the mid of 2022, if I'm not mistaken. But he's so confident that we can do this, that we can get this done by the end of this year, and that is by ensuring that we do it smoothly. So all the things that's done now, all the process that's been done now is to ensure that as many people as possible can get the COVID-19 vaccine as quickly as possible. Right? Alex, you want to add on to that?
Also, of course, it's ideal that I understand where you're coming from, because if let's say if you have a family of 5 people, it's better to have the whole family to go vaccinated at one go. It's more efficient that way. You don't need to make multiple trips. But what Amin said is true as well, because it's going to be a logistical nightmare. Because imagine the frontliners, right, who's going to handle the appointments. If anyone wants to change, and some people are going to keep changing a lot of times, and that's going to be very going to be a big hassle to organize. But at the same time, I wanted to add that coming soon on My Sejahtera app in the coming 2 weeks, there is an option for you to register your dependencies. So that allows you to register maybe your elderly parents or maybe children that's above 18
yes,
years,
above 18.
above 18 years old. So I'm not sure, don't quote me on this, I'm not sure whether that will, lump the whole group as one slot. So I'm not sure whether, but it is possible, technically it's possible, but I'm not sure whether the government's going to do that. So that's one option that they could be doing.
Yeah, and I want to add, I think while the government is doing their job, I don't want to discount for all the hard work that the frontliners and everybody else, except for most of the politicians, are doing. What I wanted to say is that I already forgot. No, okay. So where I'm coming from is that everybody's doing their work, and they still need to improve. There's a lot of room to improve in the process, the education and awareness of the national immunization program. And I think the government can do a lot better with regards to that. And already in this show, in this 30 minutes, a number of people on Clubhouse have already raised a lot of questions that the NIP document has not answered, the process flow has not answered, and there's no protocol for it. And I really urge the government to look into this. And I want to really thank you guys for asking these really great questions. So lumping up the dependencies in the system should be done from the start.
Yep.
And not now, because it creates a lot of confusion.
And just to add on to that, if let's say you want to be one of the first or higher priority to be in the line, I don't know about phase 2, but in phase 1, how the government said that because the vials, especially the Pfizer vaccine, once you open it, you need to use it one go. And they can foresee that some people might not turn up to their appointment. Usually, Malaysian phone fake. So what they have is they're going to have a list of people on standby to get vaccinated immediately. So for example, if in phase 2, if let's say one particular area has like excess dose, like we need to finish it like now, then they will do a call out for people to be on standby to come to the center to get vaccinated ahead of schedule. So that's one of the possibilities if you want to get vaccinated earlier ahead of schedule.
I don't know.
Guys, can I chime in?
Sorry, who's that?
I did.
So we have a question asker.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
All right.
Very technical term.
Yes.
Okay.
In Clubhouse, Adit.
Sure. Go
Hi,
ahead, Adit.
go
Can
ahead.
you just introduce yourself?
My name's Adit. I chime in with what Zalinda shared earlier. I'm allergic to NSAIDs, and so is my son. So we're both gonna be, gonna have issues with the COVID vaccination.
Mhm.
But on top of that, what I really wanted to bring up, why are private hospitals not being allowed to offer vaccination? With payment to people who can afford it. So instead of taxing the public health system, people who can afford it and people who have the means can go to private hospitals and get the vaccination. So I brought this up to KJ. I still haven't gotten a straight answer yet. What do you guys think?
Okay, Adit, thanks very much for that question. Okay, your last point, you brought it up to KJ and he hasn't answered your question. It's interesting because I thought we already know what the question, what the answer is. Okay, Alex, you please correct me or stop me if I'm completely
Okay,
wrong
yeah,
on
go
this.
ahead. Go ahead.
Oh, nervous. Okay, so I did to answer your question is, I the government has provision and has put in consideration to include the private health sector for the deployment of the vaccines. I believe that is in consideration. What has not been done is that the process and protocol in terms of delivering the vaccination or providing the vaccination to the private healthcare system. Why? Okay, number one, the vaccination is absolutely free for everybody. Absolutely free. This can only be done if it's provided by the public healthcare sector. The complications will come in when you involve the private health sector, because as you already know, different even for COVID-19 tests, there are different prices if you go to different hospitals, different private hospitals. So if that's happening, how is it going to work with vaccinations? While the vaccine may be free and paid for by the government, it is possible that the private healthcare industry might impose other fees that you have to pay. So that is one of the concerns. So to answer your question, there is a consideration. For me, I think it has not the protocol or the process of how this is going to be done for private healthcare providers has not been set, because there's so much more that needs to be done. Right, Alex? Anything else you want to add?
So this one talk that Kyrie was on I think it was on Zoom. So he mentioned that there considers on the consideration of going to open market, which means that private hospitals can procure and offer vaccine at a cost and people can charge. That's not been planned yet. That's not been planned. But involving the private sector for the free vaccination program, that's in talks.
Yeah, so it is in consideration. So it's not like they're not doing it. And they don't want to do it, and I don't think there's any political about it. I just think that to standardize the process, because and then again it's logistical, right? So if it's available at a private hospital, and people can afford it, they'll go like, okay, you know what? I'm not going to go to a public hospital. I'm not going to go to a government hospital. I'm going to go to a private hospital because it's more convenient, it's more comfortable, whatever the reason. And that's going to have a reverse effect. The people are going to go away from the public healthcare system, and they're going to tax the private healthcare system, which definitely cannot take it. Right, so a lot of things to consider there to balance this out. All right, I just want to let everybody know. Actually, this show is actually
not addressing my question.
Sorry,
You're really not addressing my question. My question is again, right? Procurement can be done by the government. Procurement can be done by the public health system. Okay, and then farm it out to the private healthcare system so that they can then, in turn, apply it to the people who can afford it and who are able to pay for the vaccination. So then, ultimately, what you will do is you will allow for the public health system to concentrate on those people who rely on the free vaccination. That was my question.
Okay, I'm not getting it, Alex.
Okay, I think what he means that give the provision for the private sector to actually purchase and offer it yet. I understand where you're coming from.
Okay.
But for now, because right now all the vaccines only had to go through the public health sector only. So this is what KJ is saying, that it's only going through the government, and they may think of involving private sector to be involved in the program. But
guys, I totally understand. What I'm saying is procurement is right by the government. Public health system is administering or rather distributing it and assisting private healthcare systems to also get a portion of the supply so that they can then in turn administer free to people, correct? Right. I totally understand that. But right now, the procurement system by the government, if possible, right, to procure extra doses, right, and then allow the private healthcare system to also administer to people who can afford it. So that then, at the end of the day, right, the public health system won't be taxed with people queuing up, waiting for their turn. So that in turn, all of us can be vaccinated much earlier and our economy can go back to full swing fast.
Yeah, well, okay. I think we all would like for us to go back into normalcy as quickly as possible. Do we have an answer to your question, or do we have a satisfactory answer to your question? Honestly, I don't think so.
Yeah, unfortunately, I raised my hand. I can't answer that because the government hasn't offered that option yet. I understand where you're coming from. At least you can relieve that pressure from the public health system, give the option for the private sector to help out and to give the option for people who are willing to pay to go for it. Fully understandable. That's something we're going to raise up as well.
Yeah, so we will try and look for that answer, and if we do, we'll share it with you in another episode of Live and Raw. But thank you very much, Adit, for that question. I would really like to take more questions, and there's actually so much more. Sayang, because this show is only scheduled for 30 minutes. We have a buffer time of 10 minutes, and we're already like almost going beyond 10 minutes. Rory, what do you think? You were seeing the questions. How many more questions do you think we are allowed to take?
Honestly, I think we have 2 more on Clubhouse, and we have 2 more on Facebook. So
okay, let's take one
each.
Yeah, and
Alright.
yeah, let's do that.
All right, let's take one each. We'll do Clubhouse first.
Sure.
All right.
Hey guys,
Hi Harinder, please ask your question.
do you want to take the Intel chip or the AMD chip? Okay, I'm joking. But I have a serious question.
That is so awesome.
I have a serious question. I just want to lighten the mood a bit.
Thank you.
Actually, for Adit's question, it may be because there's not enough supplies for the vaccine yet.
Yeah.
For them to consider for the private hospital to offload the issues as well.
Yeah.
But my serious question is, if you're a party or refugee, how do you go about signing up for the vaccine? Do you know any answer for this?
Yes. Okay. Is that your only question, or is there anything else you'd like to ask?
Yes.
All right.
That was a serious question.
Okay. Thank you very much, Harinder. That's so awesome. Okay. The question is, how do parties and foreigners come and register? Right. So, if I'm not mistaken, there is 5 ways for you to register for the COVID-19 vaccination, and there's also 2 new additional ways, right, Alex?
Yeah, there's 2 additional. You can call in or sign up on the website.
Okay, so I wanna pass this over to Alex to answer.
Yeah. So, but I think what he's asking specifically is the undocumented.
Undocumented. Okay.
Yeah, because that's going to be a challenge. Because if you sign up online through MySejahtera or on the website, right, there's always a field asking about your IC and your passport. I think that's something that's going to be very tricky. Yeah. So what we have heard from Dr. Jamilia, who is a public health special advisor to the PM, she did mention one of the live streams that they're going to work with community groups to reach out to these communities, because there's always fear of people in uniform. So how do you get them to be vaccinated? So that's a huge challenge. So they're going to work with a lot of close groups to reach out these people, because apart from MySejahtera, calling in on our website, and also going to the actual clinics, there will be outreach programs to reach out certain communities as well.
Yeah, thanks for bringing that up. Yes, in KJ's first talk on Clubhouse with regards to the COVID-19 vaccine, this was one of the things that a number of people raised. There is apprehension for people who are illegal in Malaysia to take the vaccine, but at least for the people who are concerned in the talk, they acknowledge this, and they acknowledge also the importance of having this segment of the population in Malaysia to be vaccinated. They've mentioned also that the NIP will run outreach programs, will engage with religious leaders, will engage with community leaders, and will run a campaign to educate people about the vaccination program, because there is a lot of sensitivities aside from the legality that you've mentioned just now, Harinder. A number of things like societal aspect, religious aspect. How do you combat with the anti-vaxxers movement? There has been talk about all this, but to be honest, Alex, I don't know whether you've seen, but I've not seen much movements with regards to announcements or anything in terms of outreach and appointment of religious leaders and community leaders or ketua kampungs and all that to help with the awareness and also getting people who are undocumented to come and register for the vaccination. So I hope we've answered that question. Okay, we have one more We have time for one more question, but before we end, I just want to say, guys, really, really, really appreciate those amazing questions on Clubhouse and also on Facebook. You guys motivate us to do another show, and go on doing this, because this is only our second show and it's an experiment. We don't know whether it's going to work or not, but we're having so much fun. So I just want to say thank you very much for those who are on Clubhouse and on Facebook for your amazing questions and support. All right, one last question before we end the show. Let's go.
I also want to answer the question.
Okay.
Take
AMD.
the AMD.
Yeah.
Nice
AMD is
one.
better and cheaper.
Also, people have been buying Intel for so long.
Yeah.
Give the other one a chance. Okay, we'll take one more question from Facebook. Okay, Jimco asks, if I vaccinate, I can travel when the time permits. Am I seeing this right?
Okay. That is the assumption, but Alex, you want to chime in on that?
Sure. So after vaccinated, whether you can travel, there's a few things we need to look into first. One is whether are we allowed to travel overseas, because right now the international borders, even state borders right now, is still closed, so we can't travel out. And also the next one is once the borders are lifted, another thing we need to ask is, will the government will make vaccinations a requirement? That's not confirmed yet. So there have been talks by airline CEOs and some governments that they will look into vaccination as like a requirement before you can enter the border. So that's not confirmed yet for Malaysia. So there have been arranged talks about having like a health passport and all that, but implementation-wise, it's not very clear. So, but KJ did mention in one of the talks that, we do not, in terms of vaccination status, right, it's not right to block people just because they are vaccinated in terms of movement in Malaysia. But international travel, that's still an open-end question. Still don't know yet. But if you do vaccinate, you have a higher chance of going into a country. That's all I can say.
Okay, so like how Alex rightly pointed, there has not been a set process or protocol for this. But my take on this is that yes, you may be required, or there is a very high chance and likelihood that you are required to be vaccinated for any form of international travel. I think that will be the standard moving forward. Why do I say that? Number one, I have two examples, instances. One of the biggest mobile technology show, Mobile World Congress, that's happening in Barcelona, is happening in June. They plan to have it happen in June, and they've also come out to say that those who intend to come to the Congress must be vaccinated, and they have to take a test as well. The second example is Haji. So for the 2021 Hajj season, I think the government of Saudi Arabia has already come out to say that for those who are planning to come to Hajj for the pilgrimage, vaccination is a must, is wajib, is a must. So I think those two movements set the precedent of how the whole world will handle travel in the post-COVID-19 era. So I believe vaccination is a must. Anything else you want to add?
That's about it. You covered it all.
Okay, so that's it, guys. We are at the end of SoyaCincau Live and Raw, where today we talk to you about technology, gadgets, and specifically the COVID-19 vaccination. I hope the show has been informative and useful to everybody that's joined the show. We'll be here again next Friday on 6 p.m. on Clubhouse and Facebook Live. So if you enjoy the show, please share it to your friends and family and let them come and join us. And if you have any suggestions of topics that we should cover on SoyaCincau Live and Raw, let us know. We'll be more than happy to answer, to put them in the show. And for the awesome questions, thank you very much. And I'm telling you, the people who matter are listening. So keep those questions coming, and hopefully together we will make change happen. So thank you very much. Alex, anything else you want to say?
Thank you so much for watching, and catch you in the next episode next Friday.
Happy Friday, happy weekend, stay safe, and catch you guys later. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.